Long time no see. Since we're all in quarantine.
Fat and round. Everybody's belly is fat and round.
I hope everybody's enjoying their quarantine experience as much as possible. Welcome to episode number 15 of Sex in the Watchtower, where we delve into the wacky world of Jehovah's Witnesses and their truly bizarre beliefs and teachings about sex.
Oh my.
In 14 episodes so far, we have looked at all sorts of depravity, but today's episode takes the cake. As usual, this video contains explicit subject matter. Side effects include nausea, disbelief, and loss of faith in mankind. It's not at all safe for work, and please don't let your kids watch this. Trust me. Today, we are going to take a look at what Jehovah's Witness parents actually teach their young children directly about sex. Now, this is not the unnecessary and gratuitous direct from the Watchtower and Awake, nor yet the equally cringy and revolting topics covered from the platform at the meetings, which all the little kids are hearing from birth. No, today we are looking at material that was directly and specifically written by Watchtower for small children. It is so bad, y'all. Oh my God, so bad. Look, make sure that you have a bucket nearby, because I think you're going to need it. Our first article today is from a Watchtower in 2005, and it's called Parents, Protect Your Precious Inheritance. This part of the article is all about how and what to teach your kids about sex. You got your barf bags ready? Okay, here we go. When talking about sex, you might ask, do you think that obeying Jehovah's law not to have sexual relations before marriage will rob a person of happiness? Encourage your child to explain his answer. Okay, so depending on the age of the child here, there could be several problems with this question. First, a young child, maybe under the age of 8, most likely won't even know what sex relations means, so you might have some splaining to do. Of course, if you're an uber dub like my mom was, you'll gross out those little kids with gusto talking about penises and foreskins and Jehovah and vaginas and Jehovah and masturbation and oral sex and Jehovah. If the children do happen to know what sex is, or at least some concept thereof, well, then you gotta contend with the leading nature of this question. See, Jehovah's Witness kids are taught that obedience is mandatory at all times, so obeying Jehovah's law is always gonna be an emphatic yes. That's the only option. You listen, obey, and hope to be blessed. Obedience to them equals happiness, so the automatic answer to this question is no. Of course Jehovah would never rob a person of happiness. What the hell kind of stupid question is this? Anything else is apostasy, which is an unforgivable sin, and a thing that must be nipped in the bud immediately. After reviewing God's marvelous provision for producing a child, you might ask, do you think our loving God would make laws to rob us of enjoyment of life? Or do you think his laws are there to make us happy and to protect us? Get your child's thinking on this matter. So parents are expected here to go through the mechanics of sexual relations on their own, making sure to editorialize heavily, and then ask the kids another leading question. So let's look at a few context clues here. First clue, loving God. Well, if he's so loving, then obviously he wants us to enjoy life. Never mind that we aren't allowed to celebrate anything under threat of being murdered at Armageddon with almost everyone else we know. Second clue, the use of the word rob. Does God rob and steal? No. Third clue, look at the lack of choices here. Either our loving God is trying to rob us, or else he's trying to make us happy and protect us. If you're a Jehovah's Witness kid, you don't get to think. When they say get your child's thinking on this matter, they mean ask them to regurgitate what you've just indoctrinated them with, because that's what they're going to do, regardless of what they might actually think. Then, you might draw attention to examples of how sexual immorality has led to heartache and trouble. My! Now, this is the point in this study where my mom would start talking about my dad and my stepmother and divorce. And if there was any salacious sexual gossip in the congregation, this is where us kids would get to learn about it.
Oh my.
Also, when a Jehovah's Witness says sexual immorality, they aren't talking about rape or molestation or anything like that. No, they are talking about consensual sex. Now, sometimes it might be immoral, like adultery or something, but often they're just talking about sex between consenting adults, which I would argue is not really immoral. And there are plenty of times when premarital sex has not led to heartache and trouble, but they're never going to acknowledge that. In fact, Jehovah's Witnesses are often the cause of the heartache and trouble. They won't tell you that either. By reasoning with your child so that he understands and accepts God's view, you will have gone a long way toward putting God's mind in him. However, there is something else that you can do. Wait, Hold up. This isn't reason. This is brainwashing. I mean, this teaches your child how not to think for themselves. They haven't gotten to make an informed choice here. They've recited the party line. And if they haven't, they've been browbeaten until they did. And how in the world would you put God's mind in your child when you can't even prove that God exists, much less that he has any sort of mind, especially one worthy of being put into your offspring? Why would you want to replace your kid's mind anyway? Are you some kind of body snatcher or something? What is wrong with you people? Now, it's time for the study question.
Understanding what can especially motivate a child to obey Jehovah?
Let's see. If a child understands that the parent will withhold affection and approval unless they give the right answer to these leading questions, that could motivate them to obey. But it's not Jehovah they're obeying here. Remember that Jehovah is silent and invisible and imaginary, and what they really mean here is obeying the Watchtower. What else do they want the child to understand here? Well, that people get disfellowship for sexual behavior, which means they're bad and scary, and no one will talk to them or love them anymore. And also that Jehovah's going to kill all the disfellowship people at Armageddon, so unless they want to die a horrible death and have birds peck out their eyes while the rest of the congregation's in the news system petting tigers and eating fruit, they'd better keep their weenies under control. This answer would not likely be acceptable at the Watchtower study, though. Too real.
Wisely, you will not only teach your child the consequences of disobeying Jehovah, but also explain how Jehovah is personally affected by the way we live.
What? How could this possibly be true? And if it were, how would they know?
Show your child from the Bible that we can cause Jehovah pain when we fail to do his will.
That's right, small child. When you don't immediately obey every command from an adult, you hurt Jehovah. If you think something you hear at the meeting is bogus, you offend the almighty creator of the universe, who incidentally supposedly gave you that brain you're being forbidden to use here. And it goes without saying that if you touch your genital area at all, you will make Jehovah have a complete mental breakdown. They are actually saying that a small child can actually do damage to the almighty, all-powerful, omnipotent creator of the goddamn universe. This is utterly insane.
You might ask, why do you not want to hurt Jehovah?
Because he might kill me?
And explain. God's enemy Satan claims that we serve Jehovah for selfish reasons and not because we love him.
You will love me or else.
Look, I don't see Jehovah giving out a lot of warm fuzzies, is all I'm saying. I mean, being forced to love someone because you're afraid of being slaughtered at Armageddon is kind of unhealthy.
Then explain that by keeping integrity, Job made God's heart rejoice, thus providing an answer to Satan's lying charge. Your child needs to understand that depending on how he behaves, he can make Jehovah either sad or happy.
Way to go, Watchtower. You are creating anxious, codependent people who have a really overblown view of the importance of their every action. I mean, this is abusive and really unhealthy. Now, have you noticed the intense focus on obedience for kids? Because that's going to become really important in just a minute.
This and many other vital lessons can be taught to children by using the book Learn from the Great Teacher.
Do y'all hear these birds? These birds are going nuts out here. Great segue, Watchtower, because next we are going to look at that very book. Now, when I was a kid, this was a pink book with green writing on the front called Listening to the Great Teacher. And I don't really remember it having a whole lot about sex in it. I think this part might have been added when word started getting out that the witnesses had a pedophile problem, but I'm not sure. The first chapter we're going to look at is called
Jesus' Power Over Demons. The Bible says that those angels left their own proper home in heaven and came to earth to live as men. They did this because they wanted to have sex relations with the pretty women on earth. My! What do you know about sex relations?
I know that this is really inappropriate. My entire digestive system is tying itself in a knot right now. I mean, I can feel the cringe all the way through my body. What?
Sex relations are when a man and a woman become close in a very special way.
Oh. My.
Afterward, a baby can grow inside the mother.
Okay, I applaud the fact that they did not go into full clinical detail as they did in the youth book, but still. This can be confusing for a small child who might think that if they sit too close to a boy at the Kingdom Hall, they're going to get pregnant. There might need to be a little bit more explanation here, other than just becoming close to someone, because that's not how sex works. at all.
But for angels to have sex relations is wrong.
I mean, how would that even work, for one thing? Angels are supposed to be spirits, right? So how did they manage to come to Earth and have anyone see them at all, much less be able to have sex? I mean, do angels even have penises? And why aren't there any female angels? And how in the world is this being taught as actual fact?
God wants only a man and a woman who are married to each other to have sex relations. That way, if a baby is born, the husband and wife can take care of it.
Okay, well, if that's the case, then why did he create humans with not only the capability, but also the drive to do it? And there are plenty of married couples who do not take care of their babies, I'm just saying, even in Jehovah's Witness congregations. Because this sounds okay on the surface, but it's not really connected to reality in any way.
When angels took human bodies and had sex with women on earth, their babies grew up to become giants. They were very mean, and they would hurt people. So God brought a great flood to destroy the giants and all the bad people. But he had Noah build an ark, or a big boat, to save the few people who did what was right. The great teacher said that what happened at the flood is important to remember.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Where do we even start here? Okay, first problem. Women have no agency. Basically, the women here don't get a choice. They're just these objects that these body-snatching zombie angels had sex with. Y'all, this is not cool. Not okay. Not something to teach your children as if it's just normal. Just no. Second problem. Giants? Really? How? Why? Third problem. The almighty creator of the universe can't just zap the giants out of existence. In order to get rid of them, he has to flood the entire earth and kill most of the population. You know, I'm seeing a pattern here. What the fuck? I think he just likes to kill people. And don't even get me started on the veracity of Noah's Ark. That is just ludicrous. The whole thing. And this, my friends, this is sex ed for Jehovah's Witness kids. A chapter about the origin of demons.
When the flood came, do you know what happened to the bad angels? They stopped using the human bodies they had made, and they went back to heaven. But they could no longer be God's angels, so they became angels of Satan, or demons. And what happened to their children? The giants. They died in the flood, and so did all the other people who did not obey God.
And incidentally, so did all the women who were presumably raped by the angels in the first place, but nobody cares about them anyway. Also, notice that if you don't obey, you get killed.
Since the time of the flood, God has not let the demons become like humans anymore.
Really? Does anyone know why he let them do it in the first place, or how they did it, or how any of this could be true at all? I mean, I don't...
But even though we cannot see them, the demons still try to get people to do very bad things. My... They are causing more trouble than ever before. This is because they have been thrown out of heaven down to the earth.
See, Jehovah, in all his loving wisdom, decided to just throw all the demons down here where we, his defenseless, righteous children, are, instead of, dealing with them himself, seeing as how he's all powerful and everything, and we can't even see him. This right here is why there is so much mental illness among born-in Jehovah's Witnesses. Because you are taught that you are capable of accidentally hurting God by being yourself, and that if you aren't perfectly obedient, God's going to murder you. And on top of that, he's put all these demons around you trying to make you do very bad things. Now that's a lot of pressure for anybody, much less a little kid.
Do you know why we cannot see the demons?
Because they're not real?
It is because they are invisible, but we can be sure that they are alive. The Bible says that Satan is misleading people in all the world, and his demons are helping him.
Okay, y'all, but just because something's in the Bible does not mean it's true or that it's real. I mean, the Bible is full of crazy stuff. Read it, you'll see. And just because some Watchtower publication says that we can be sure something is true doesn't actually mean that we can be sure. I mean, I, for one, am going to need more evidence.
Can the devil and his demons mislead or fool us too? Yes, they can if we are not careful. But we do not need to be afraid. The great teacher said, "The devil has no hold on me." If we keep close to God, he will protect us from the devil and his demons.
You might be wondering at this point why we're talking about this in a video about sex. Stay with me. We're getting there. All right, so demons are invisible and everywhere and actively trying to do us harm. Now, we're telling our kids that the demons are trying to fool them as well and that they have to be careful. But they shouldn't be afraid of this because, if they're obedient enough, Jehovah will protect them from the demons that he threw down here to torment his children for his entertainment. I mean, for some reason.
It is important that we know what bad things the demons will try to get us to do. So think about it. What bad things did the demons do when they came to earth?
Wait for it.
Before the flood, they had sex relations with women, something that was not right for angels to do.
My.
Today, the demons like it when people do not obey God's law about sex relations. Let me ask you, who only should have sex relations? You are right, only married people.
It's actually printed just like that. You are right. Only married people, because there is no other option, and they already know that the kids are going to parrot the answer they've already been force-fed. So they are teaching children that the demons are trying to get them to have sex relations. What the actual fuck?
Today, some young boys and girls have sex relations, but this is wrong for them.
No, they don't. No, they do not. If young boys and girls are having sex, they are being molested and raped. They are not having sex. They are being abused. Children cannot consent to sex. Period. Full stop. End of story. But I can hear you apologists out there going, but what if the child didn't protest? Situations that include non-forcible sexual activity involving minors are referred to as statutory rape. That means that no matter what, children cannot consent to sex because they do not have the faculties to fully understand what they are consenting to. Yes, it is wrong for kids to be engaged in sexual activity. That is the whole reason that statutory rape laws exist. But this makes it seem like the kids are choosing to have sex, and that is very, very disingenuous.
The Bible talks about the male genital organ, or penis. The female genital parts are called the vulva. Jehovah created these parts of the body for a special purpose that should be enjoyed only by married people. It makes the demons happy when people do things that are forbidden by Jehovah. For example, the demons like it when a boy and a girl play with each other's penis or vulva. We don't want to make the demons happy, do we?
So they are basically equating the natural curiosity that young children may have about the human body with having sex, being molested, or as Jehovah's Witnesses like to say, committing fornication. Playing with or looking at someone else's naughty bits is not the same as having sex. And the cherry on top of this is the part about making the demons happy. Oh my fucking God, this is warped. This is a whole nother level of warped. I can't. Let's move on. The next chapter we need to look at here is chapter number 32.
Do you remember from chapter 10 of this book what the devil and his demons tried to get us to do? Yes, they tried to get us to have the kind of sex relations that God says is wrong.
Y'all, there are not sex demons flying around trying to get kids to do the nasty. I mean, this is so stupid. It's actually dangerous, though, because it takes the focus off of the actual things that kids need to be taught about sex and real life predators. This ain't how you do it, guys.
But who only should have sex relations? Yes, two grown people of the opposite sex who are married to each other.
Yeah, you said that multiple times already. I mean, I feel like it's becoming very clear what they actually care about here, and it's not kids who get molested.
However, sad to say, some grown-ups like to have sex with children.
I'm sorry, what? No. No. This is not how you tell kids about pedophiles, okay? Jehovah's Witness kids are taught to obey adults without question. And they've been taught, as we've seen today, that anything involving sex is wrong unless you're married. So this right here is a really confusing mixed message.
When they do, boys and girls may begin to do bad things that they have learned from these grown-ups. They also begin to use their sex organs in a wrong way.
This is crazy, y'all. I mean, this is just out there. So yes, if a kid is molested and raped, they may act out sexual behaviors that are inappropriate. Often, that's how a parent or caregiver may first recognize that there's something amiss, if they're paying attention, that is, which most witness parents are not. However, the way this is worded, it's as if the kids are participants and not victims. They're treating these little kids like they're at fault or like they've chosen to have sex with a pedophile and then imitate the pedophile's behavior. I mean, this is extremely wrong-headed and damaging, but of course, this is the perfect time for a biblical example, so...
This is what happened a long time ago in the city of Sodom. The Bible says that people there from boy to old man tried to have sex with men who had come to visit Lot.
This is so inappropriate.
So just as Jesus needed protection, you also need to be protected from grown-ups and even from other children who may try to have sex with you.
What did Jesus need protection from? They were just talking about Lot and those angels that visited him, weren't they? And come to think of it, didn't Lot offer to throw his daughters to the sexual predators in order to protect the visiting men? That's fine parenting right there. So it's true that children need to be protected from pedophiles, and maybe even from other children who've unfortunately been exposed to inappropriate sexual content. But this is not how you do it, witnesses. It's not.
Usually these people will pretend to be your friends. They may even offer you something if you will promise not to tell others about what they want to do with you. But these people are selfish, like Satan and his demons, and they only want to get pleasure for themselves. And they try to get this pleasure by having sex with children. This is very wrong.
Oh, look, they got one thing right. Sex with children is indeed wrong. Is that why the witnesses always report child molestation to the authorities to be properly investigated and prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law? Wait, no.
Do you know what they may do to get pleasure for themselves?
Please don't. Please just stop.
Well, they may try to rub your sex organs, or they will even rub their sex organs against yours.
Why? Why are they doing this? Why?
But you should never let anybody play with your penis or vulva, not even your own brother or sister or your mother or father. These parts of your body are private.
Okay, yeah, those parts of your body are private, but as we've discussed before, Jehovah's Witnesses are not really allowed to have personal boundaries, even when it comes to their own bodies. Now, I can remember growing up Jehovah's Witness that it seemed like anyone who wanted to make a comment about my appearance or my body or whatever felt perfectly comfortable just going right ahead. My mother herself used to poke fun in the car group in service about how my 12-year-old legs were hairy. But then when we got home, she would forbid me to shave them. Or when I was about 14, a sister in our congregation walked up to me at the meeting, grabbed the front of my dress like this, and just yanked it upward hard enough to pop a button off, saying she was tired of seeing so much of my chest. My mother was standing right there and did absolutely nothing about this. Radio silence. Once, when I was about 17, a boy my age walked up to me at the Kingdom Hall and said that my knee-length dress was too short. An elder told me about that same time that if I was stuffing my bra, I should stop doing it because I was likely to stumble the brothers. I most definitely did not stuff my bra. The Jehovah's Witnesses wouldn't know a personal boundary if it bit them in the genital organs. So expecting a small child to single-handedly stop a pedophile who has likely already been grooming them for some time is utterly wrong. Oh, let's talk about grooming for a minute. The Jehovah's Witnesses seem to conveniently, or ignorantly, completely overlook the very concept of grooming. Grooming refers to the act of deliberately establishing an emotional connection with the child for the express purpose of preparing the child to accept being abused. Jehovah's Witnesses basically pre-groom their children for the pedophiles by teaching them things like unquestioning obedience and acting as if victims of sexual abuse are participants in fornication, and telling them that demons are trying to get them to have sex, and not teaching them things like critical thinking, body autonomy, agency, and personal boundaries that are going to be respected. A child who has been groomed by a predator is not going to be able to stop the abuse. For one thing, they don't know how to stop it, and for another, the purpose of grooming is to convince the child that it's okay and that it's not abuse. But no matter what, this is going to screw with the kid's head, and it's a horrible, horrible thing.
How can you protect your body from people who do bad things like this? First of all, do not let anybody play with your sex organs. If someone tries to do this, say firmly in a loud voice, "Stop that! I'm going to tell on you."
Yes, a child should tell a trusted adult immediately if someone crosses their personal boundaries. Absolutely, they should. Absolutely. And if they are capable of saying, "Stop and I'm going to tell," then absolutely they should. But this only works if someone will believe you when you tell on them. If you're a Jehovah's Witness kid, especially if you're a girl, that's honestly not very likely. And even if they do believe you, odds are nothing's going to be done about it. If there aren't two witnesses to the abuse and the perpetrator does not confess, which he probably won't, they'll leave it in Jehovah's hands. That means no reporting to the authorities, no warnings to other families in the congregation, and absolutely nothing to stop the perpetrator from doing it again.
And if that person says that what happened is your fault, don't believe that. It is not true. Just go and tell on him, no matter who it is. You should do so even if he says that what you are doing together is a secret, just between you and him. Even if that person promises you nice presents or makes scary threats, you should get away from him and tell on him anyway.
But what if the elders actually tell the kid that what happened is their fault? I mean, what if the elders tell you that you're guilty of fornication in and you'll be disfellowshipped because you didn't scream when you were raped, or because you were in the wrong place at the wrong time. You were asking for it somehow because what kind of underwear you had on or something. Because I know people who've had all of these things happen to them. When I was molested as a child, the elders told me that it was because I was a cute little girl and I must have seduced this teenage boy. I have a close friend who was told that she was guilty of fornication because she was raped, just because she should have known better than to be where she was when the rape happened. So they teach little kids that it's their job to protect themselves from child abuse, and the adults in their lives do nothing to protect them and nothing to help them if they are abused. Often they'll find that they're told to shut up about it, leave it in Jehovah's hands, and if they do tell anyone else in the congregation, they might be punished for slandering their abuser. This is disgusting. I cannot believe they've gotten away with this for so long, honestly, and I hope the recent exposés in the news and the court cases and the legislative inquiries, I hope those result in at least one sweeping policy change, but not going to hold my breath. Told you were going to need a bucket. That's all for today's episode. Tune in next time for episode number 16, where we talk about chat rooms, flirting, abstinence pledges, and worldwide moral breakdown. Until then, I'm Sister Fister. This is crazy.